Okay, hi everybody. Thank you very much for joining us, the Microsoft Power BI UK user group. And in today's session, we're here with Parvinder. Parvinder is a Microsoft MVP. And in today's session, he's going to talk to us about using paginated reports with Power BI datasets. So I hope you can all hear us well. We're trying a new format within today's session, whereby we'll be broadcasting a live webinar directly to yourselves. So we do have the Q&A functionality available. So please, at any point, do jump in with any questions that you may want to ask throughout the session. And I will obviously jump in throughout the session and pose those questions to Parvinder. So as you're all aware, my name is Leon Gordon. So I'll be your host and moderator for this session. And as I say, joining us today is Parvinder Chana, and he is a Microsoft MVP. Now, just a little bit about Parvinder. So he is a Power BI consultant, and he's an architect as well, with over 20 years experience. So very, very, very knowledgeable within this sector. And he currently runs his own consulting company, which is PeryTUS IT Solutions. And within that company, he implements Power BI solutions for clients across the world. So without any further ado, I will hand you over to Parvinder.
Thanks, Leon. Awesome. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, can hear you fine.
All right, perfect. Thanks for the opportunity and glad to be here. Thanks everyone for joining, whoever is on this webinar right now. Super excited to be here. I think, Leon, you mentioned I'm from India. Like, I am originally from India. Right now I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and I've been here for many, many years now, and this is my home. Anyhow, before getting too much into this, let's start on our topic of the day, which is building a paginated report using Power BI datasets. You guys can see my screen right now, right, Leon? Just want to make sure what.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
Okay, perfect, awesome, thank you. All right. Again, just want to highlight the agenda for today's meetup. Like we are talking about creating a paginated reports using Power BI dataset, very specific to Power BI dataset. This topic is one thing I just want to make sure. I'm not going to talk about like the paginated report formatting and all the stuff, but it's more about best practices when you use Power BI report builder or paginated report Power BI dataset. What things you should be looking into, and we're going to talk about why Power BI dataset report parameters and tips and tricks and some other things. So that's kind of things we'll try to cover. I have 1 hour, and please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. I will be more than happy to answer, or at the end as well. And let's see how it goes. Again, go to the next slide. My name is Parvinder Chana. Some people call me Parv Chana as well as short. And as Leon mentioned, I run a consulting company here in Vancouver, pretty much focused on Power BI related solutions. And I'm using Power BI since it came available in preview mode back in July 2016. Oh, actually, it started July was a GA, but it was in a journal in a preview before that. So I started using it at that time, and very fortunate to be involved in this product, and a Microsoft community super user as well under the name Peri2K. If you ever been on a community forum and if I answer your question, so under the name that's Peri2K, I'm a super user. Super user program started like 4 or 5 years ago in the community, and I was the first batch of super users and continuing on that, and I love sharing and being on the community. So I always recommend in my meetups and my sessions, please, if you have any questions, please go to community. There's a great people who can help and answer your questions and whatnot. And I'm also Microsoft Data Platform MVP. This is my 3rd year, and very lucky to be a part of MVP group. And you can always reach me out at my email, my LinkedIn. I'm very little on Twitter, but more active on LinkedIn and as well. Please feel free to reach out directly any way which works for you guys. Anyhow, that's about me. Let's start on the topic today. Most of the stuff which is going to be as a show, I'm going to do the demo. This is just a few things I want to run through, and don't want it to, because there's nothing in here to go through the slides. It's more about actual action. So just quickly talk about what is Power BI Report Builder. It's also called, mostly it's known as a Paginated Report, but the product actually, when you go and you download called Power BI Report Builder, there's nothing Paginated Report. It's like a type of reporting. It's called Paginated Reports because pages, you're kind of a printing perspective you're looking at. Mainly used for operational reporting, like where you want to print like account statement and whatnot, sending by email or PDFs and all this stuff. And also known as pixel perfect because you can actually control each and every corner, like you can control each segment of the report how you want it to be. Again, this is perfect for printing and all the stuff. And again, end of the day, this is a SQL Server reporting services, SSRS behind the scenes. If you used SSRS, I was an SSR developer a long time ago, and it was easy for me to adopt Power BI Report Builder or Paginated Reports. Under the hood, it's SSRS. So your knowledge with what you have in SSRS is just continue, and you can start using Paginated Report. And the reason why we're talking about, if we have other sources like SQL Server and all the stuff in Paginated Report, it will be the same experience as you have in SSRS. But the reason we are talking today is like, if we're using Paginated Report or Report Builder with the Power BI dataset, what things we need to take care. And one thing I highlighted here, the fifth point, RS Custom Dax Filter. You probably, if you are working with Power BI, you work in a Dax functions and all the stuff, never come across this particular function. Probably you never seen this. This is a special Dax function used in Power BI Paginated Report to pass the multi-parameter values to the Dax query behind the scenes. And so this is a special function. We will see if we had an opportunity to talk about this, given we have time. So the thing is like, okay, now we started this topic, like, but why we want to use Power BI dataset? Why we just don't go directly to our data source, let's say SQL or Oracle or whatnot, or other data sources? Why Power BI dataset and all this stuff? This goes back to the theory, like where we have like a Power BI data model has been created, which contains all the relations, it contains all the clean data transformed and whatnot. All the mayas has been created, whether it's year to date, quarter to date, month to date, whatever. All the business logic has been deployed in your data set already. And based on that, you are already creating your analytical reports using Power BI desktop and slicing and dicing the data and visuals and whatnot, which we all love. Now, since all the hard work has been done in Power BI dataset to prepare to make sure the data is good and the calculation is good, it's certified, it's promoted, all this stuff. And why then not take the advantage of Power BI dataset and use it for the operational reporting as well, instead of going directly to your source, which is, let's say, for example, SQL Server or any other source you have, and then redo all those calculations in Report Builder. So that might be, now there's a possibility that you're doing the calculations in Power BI datasets to develop analytical reports. Now if you don't use that data set and go back to your, the data source directly, you might have another business logic developed in Report Builder, then all of a sudden the numbers doesn't match and all this stuff. So it takes away all the hard work which you already done on your creating this shared golden data set using Power BI desktop, and take advantage of that and use it for your existing analytical reports you're using, and then also use it for your operational reporting like Paginated Reports. So that's the reason why this becomes really, really powerful, that you maintain one model, one data set, or multiple data sets which are certified, promoted in your organization, and then you use that for your Power BI Report Builder as well. So that's the reason why we have this topic and why we want to talk about this. So, but it's not that straightforward as it looks like. Even though Power BI Paginated Report allows you to connect to Power BI data sets, but there are a few things which you really need to be aware of, and that's what we're going to look into right now. And the reason why I decided to do this topic is I started using Power BI Paginated Report like a year and a half for one of my clients. And I thought this is an SSRS. I'm going to connect to Power BI dataset and everything will be normal. And I know SSRS good enough that I can really do a good job there. But I ran into a few challenges and whatnot, and that's the learning which I really want to share today. So Before we go in a little more talking, let's actually start looking into a few things here and look into the demo. Any question at this point in time, Leon?
Not just yet, Parv. Everybody has asked whether this session is going to be recorded or not. So just so everybody is aware, this session will be recorded and it will be available on the Microsoft Power BI UK user group YouTube channel, and we'll keep you all updated.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to talk about take a very basic sample, a Power BI report, and basically showing the data set, and then we're going to work through this. So this is like say simple sales report based on AdventureWorks. This is like just showing sales by quarter and all that stuff. This is Power BI desktop. But the more interesting thing which we want to look here is this model. There's a lot more table, but for this particular session, to keep it simple, I have a one simple model. I think this is what we need to know. Like, okay, we have a sales track table, we have a calendar, has two relations. One is active, one is inactive, and then the product and the customer, and very simple model. So this has been already published in my environment in my tenant Power BI service. So this data model, what we have here is which we're going to use in our Power BI report builder to create the paginated report. So let's start. And one thing is Power BI report builder is the minimum requirement. For to go into this, that you need a premium license. Now with the introduction of the PPU, this becomes more affordable, that you can have the PPU license and then you can have the paginated reports. And one question always come, okay, I have a one workspace and that is on the PPU capacity and the paginated report is published there and other users need to access that report. Do all need PPU license? Yes, anybody who's going to go to that workspace, they all need the PPU license. It's not only the author, but the viewer also. Basically, the workspace is tied up with the PPU backed up premium capacity, and then anybody who needs to access that workspace, they need PPU license. Just to clarify on that. And one more thing is like report. If you don't have a PPU right now, for example, you want to experiment, you can download Power BI Report Builder. You can start connect to your Power BI dataset, start authoring the report. The only thing you cannot do is you cannot publish this report to the Power BI service, because if you don't have the premium PPU or actually premium capacities, but you can still, for experimental purpose to make sure this product is right for you and can do what you need to do, you can download and start using it. You don't need a PPU to experiment with this thing, so you can download and start playing with this. So here is a report builder, and people who are from the SSRS background probably see the same. It looks the same. The only difference what we have here is we have now ability to connect to the Power BI dataset connection. So similar thing like Power BI desktop, you need to log in to that particular your tenant with your username and password, and I'm logged in with my credentials Parvinder at PeryTUS.com to go to my tenant, and then from there I'm gonna connect to my Power BI dataset model. So you will see all the workspaces here, what I have, and the one which we are going to work into the meetup paginated. As you can see, this is backed up by a PPU with this icon, a diamond with a person symbol shows the PPU capacity. The only with the diamond is like these are the premium capacities. So go to my meetup paginated report. It shows me all my data sets. The one which I have is they call the sales report Vancouver meetup. Actually, that should have been different name. So as you can see, this is the file we are looking at. So it's been published, and I'm going to connect to that one. So one thing is very important to know here is it's a little bit different here. What we see here is we have a concept of data source and data sets. In Power BI, the data sets means which contains your whole data, and when you publish it, creates a data set and a report. So you build a report on top of data set. In Report Builder, in Paginated Report, because it traditionally came from SSRS world, the data source is your connection to your source. In this case, our source is a Power BI data set. But the data set concept in Power BI Report Builder is the query, or is the underlying query let's say select star from ABC, select star from customer, is that your query is the data set. So it's you have to be very, very careful when you say, okay, you know, I have a data set in report builder. That means totally different than data set in Power BI service. So if we go and look into the Power BI service quickly, I'm just going to go to my, so if we go in a data set here, these are our data sets in our Power BI service. So the one which we are connecting to is Sales Report Vancouver Meetup. So this Sales Report Vancouver Meetup becomes a data source in Report Builder. But on that data source, it's a connection to the source, we will create our data set. So the one, I'm going to start with one example here. So let's say we want to list all the customers and the products. So just simple thing, right? And I just want to create a one simple data set. I can call it a customer and product, for example. And then my data source is, of course, the connection which I already created. Very simple thing. Now, one more thing is like traditionally, if you work with the SSRS, you can write your query here and whatnot, you know, to the formula, and you can text and all the stuff. Here you can go through the query designer. So what you will see is you will see now your probably traditionally, if you have worked with a multi-dimensional model, you will see the fact table and your dimension. It takes a while to load because it goes and pull the model from Power BI service.
Just while it does that, Parv, I know you mentioned some of the differences between Power BI Desktop and Report Builder. So Pragati has a question. So thanks for joining us, Pragati. And she asks, does Power BI Report Builder give all the features enabled for experimenting purposes like Power BI Desktop for report development?
Yeah, it has everything. There's nothing like no functionality, which is if you don't have the premium capacity, you can download it as a full-fledged product like Power BI Desktop. You can do everything. The only thing which you cannot do is, again, you know, you cannot publish because if you don't have the premium capacity.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So here we see the model, what we have in the Power BI service. Similar thing, I'm just going to switch back and forth between Power BI Desktop. So this is what we have in Power BI Desktop where we created our model, and that's exactly what we see in Power BI Report Builder. Now here, as I said, what we want is we just want a customer and product. So I'm going to search in customer here and grab from my dimension customer. And here I will product from my product table. So simple thing, this is what my need is. I just want it to be list of these two things together, and that's what I want. So, and this is my query. So what happens is when you select your measures and your dimension columns in there, behind the scene, once you do this, it creates a Dax query for you. So as you can see, if you guys in the Dax world and work with the Dax Studio and all the stuff, basically this becomes a Dax for you. So basically it's doing evaluate, summarize columns. Like if you write by yourself, this is what you will do if you have to write the Dax query. So through the query designer, we picked the columns and then it automated the Dax for us. So now, okay, so I guess this cannot have a space. All right, so, okay. Again, I'm not going to go into formatting and all this stuff. This session is not about talking about the SSR report development and all this stuff. But so now what I want is I just want a table matrix here. Insert table. And what I want is my customer and my product. So this is pretty much what I want. Now, in here, you have the opportunity to preview the report. So I go run. So what's going to happen here is, like, as you can see, it's loading the preview. It's going to take forever to run this. So this is the first lesson of the best practices. When you're bringing the dimension value, if you look at the model behind the scene here in Power BI, because you need to look at the model where it has been created, the customer and product does not have a direct relationship. It has only with the sales. It means we have to have the measure in between to make these two things work together. Otherwise, it will never return any value, or it will be a cross join in a SQL. If you look at that, it's going to have the full product, full customer Cartesian list of things for product and the customer together. And that's why what will happen, it will take forever to load. I know it's never going to load, and I'm going to stop it. So what you need to do is, one of the things you can do here is, let's say if this is your ask, you go back to your Power Query. So this is another thing what you can do is, whatever the results you're looking for, go back to your Power BI desktop. And let's say we want the customer and product here. So I will go pick my customer and my product. So similar thing what we did in Report Builder. So here it is very fast and immediately show us the result, and of course we can do the thing. So and the reason behind that is, what it does is, which Power BI Report Builder does not, if we go and view and perform analyzer, start recording and refresh visual. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to get the query which it created behind the scene. If you don't know, with the performance visualizer, if you refresh, it actually, whatever the visuals you have on your canvas, it will, for each visual, it will create the query for you. So it has created the query for us for this particular visual, which is table visual. So if I look at the copy the query, maybe I will just open it in a notepad here. So again, it's very important to understand how the DAX works. DAX is behind the scene. I mean, you don't need to know everything, like all the complexity you can do in Power BI Desktop and take the query and put it in your Paginated Report. So basically what it does is, it automatically in Power BI Desktop, it creates the measures of the count row sales and only show where the product and the customer has the sales. And because this is the inbuilt behavior of how the Power BI Desktop works, but Paginated Report does not. So now what I can do is, I know this is the query I need. I can take my DAX code here, DAX query here, and go back to my report builder. And now here I go back to my query. And what I can do here is, once it loads, and now I showed you that you can pick and choose between these columns and the measures. What you can do is, you can actually go in a design mode and you can write your own DAX query as well. As you can see, this has the query which it created by itself. Now we can replace this DAX query with our code, which we picked from Power BI Desktop. A couple of things it does is, it creates all this code, and one thing that Power BI Desktop does is, it pulls only 501 rows, because then it goes to the next pagination. So we don't need to be windowed this. We can remove this particular code here, and we say, okay, I want this for my table. And if I execute the query now, so I will have the customer and product here. As you can see, it can run much faster. Same result what we have in Power BI Desktop. I say okay, and from here, what we will see is, now if I preview now, everything would work as expected. Because now we have a measure in between, which is making sure any blank row, it's not returning the full Cartesian list of things, like where customer and product are together cross join as in SQL. So as you can see, it's immediately executed and whatnot. So anything you want to do with the DAX query, you don't know, go back to Power BI Desktop, create what you're looking for, pick up the query from there and bring it up here if certain things you don't know how to do it. But a lot of the stuff you will be able to do through, because this is a very, the reason why I wanted to show that, I talked to a few people who are using Paginated Report. They said, we want a simple list, but it never runs, it takes forever. But because there's no measure in between and it doesn't know, again, you have to go back to your data model and see there's no relationship between product and customer. But Power BI Desktop is smart enough to create that query for us to know to show everything. So that's the first thing. The second thing now we're going to talk about, let me start a new, any questions so far?
Yeah, that's fantastic, Parv. Just before we do start on the next section, so we have a question from Anthony Catella, which I believe you've just answered, but I'll ask it anyway. So how does the DAX in Report Builder differ from Power BI Desktop? can you copy it across from the desktop to the builder?
Yes, 100%. You can copy it across. Yes.
Perfect. And we have another question from Pragati, and she asks, does Power BI Report Builder give ability to modify the data sets, or is it always required to be a ready-made data set?
No, it does not allow you to modify the data. You can't do anything. You can only it's a read only, and you can show me in your Dax code here in the Dax query. You can say, let's say you have a sales in your Power BI data sets and you want to multiply it by 100. In the Dax query, you can do it here, but you cannot actually modify the original data set or the source or any modeling. You don't do anything in the modeling side here.
Okay, fantastic. And the last question that we have is from Emaine, and they ask, thank you for this presentation. Can we publish reports in the portal, Power BI Premium for Report Services?
Yes, you can. We will look through that. Yes, you can.
Fantastic. And I'll actually just ask you one more part if I can. It's from Ravindra, and they ask, how can we get a data set from Power BI Report Server instead of the service?
That's a great question. To be very honest, never worked with the Power BI Report Server. I have, in my last 5 years of my experience, only one client has a Power BI Report Server, and they moved to Power BI services. To be very honest, I never used it, but I don't see why. The end of the day, it's just in a connection string to that source, right? So I don't have an answer, but I can really find out later on. Probably have to create that environment and check it out, but I don't have an answer right now, but I can find out for you.
Of course, maybe one for the future in a blog post or something.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Parv.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to continue building on this one, and let's remove this data set for a second. So I'm going to add another data set again, but let's keep the name data set 1, and same connection data source here, and go back to Query Designer. This is the time when it goes and live connect to your data source, which is data set. It's a little bit of a tough to when you're working with these two things. Data set, the name changes different in different services. It's different in here. It's different. So I'm going to pick customer, and same thing. I'm going to pick product here as well. So I have a customer and product. So what I want is I want to see sales by customer and by product. So now I have a measure already created. So $sales measure. So switching back to Power BI. So just in case, if you see the sales measure in just a simple sales amount coming from my my sales fact table, and product and customers are connected to sales. So it's pretty straightforward. So what I have is the customer, product, and sales here. And now this will not have that issue because we have the sales in between, and it would run customer and product, giving us a list of all the customers, all the product, and the sales for each customer and product. Now what I want is I want to have a parameter in my report to say select a customer, select a product. So what I will do here is I will pick up the customer. If you are familiar with SSRS, you know the top section is for the parameter. So I will drop my customers here as well. So it will have this the hierarchy what we want, and the filter expression here you can. So there's two things. If you want to pre-filter something, let's say you want to have a show only product which are active. You don't want it to be have a selection for the user. So you can pre-filter those here. You can say, okay, I just want the product which are active. But here we want it to be customer as our parameter. So what we're going to do is, so this checkbox here under the parameter, very tiny little check mark, you check this up. So what it does is it creates a parameter for us automatically on the customer dimension on the name customer. So I'm going to create two parameters. One is customer and one is product. So similar thing, I pick up the product. I said, okay, create a parameter, and then I go, okay. Now you will see the Dax Query. What I mentioned about the RS Custom Dax Filter, you will see that Dax Filter comes in there, that particular function. It automatically generates this query for you. And if you see, I'm not sure how much it is visible, but I will probably cut and paste here and put in a notepad just to show what does it look like. So if you see what it is, it does is it has a summarized column on DIM customer. So automatically it does this for us, and then you see this function RS Custom Dax Filter. What does this function does is it takes the user input at this point of time from the parameter, which is by default it creates the DIM customer, and then multiple values selected and pass it to the filter, the DIM customer behind the scene. So it does it for us by itself. We don't need to worry about this, but I just want to make sure if you never came across or you come across this RS Custom Dax Filter, what it is used here in the report builder. Create multiple values and pass it to the Dax Query. So it's a very special function. Now, if I create another visualize this data, I'm creating a table here simply, insert table. So I have a customer, product, and then the sale. I can label whatever we want. Now again, we can control anything what we want. So pixel perfect. So we want it to be called sales. Right aligned amount, and this should be dollar. And I want to highlight my customers, nothing else. So let's say this is my design, and again, customer. So if I run now, this thing, it will actually, before I do that, let me go back, and you have to be a little bit patient with this product because it takes a while. So before I go into in that preview, so as you can see, it created two parameters automatically because we selected the parameters. It gives a name DIM customer. So I'm going to look into one of the parameters properties. So what it has is you can change what it should say. You can say select a customer if I wanted to. That's what it will show as a prompt on the parameter, and then data type, and allow blank values. If you want only one value to be selected, you can now tweak those parameter settings here. So I don't want to allow blank values, and let's say I want only to select one customer. I don't want multiple customers to be selected, and available values. So again, I don't want, this is all SSRS. I don't want to go too deep into this. So one thing which I want to point out, what it does is available values, when you see the parameter, the list of customers, what it does behind the scene is, if I go here and select, right click and say show hidden data sets, it creates another data sets which are hidden, one for DIM customer and one for products, which are used here as the available values. So by default, it creates those data sets behind the scene for the parameters, so that when we show the parameter in the report, we have the opportunity to select the customers, right? So this is what it does behind the scene, automatically hidden. You can actually go and look at the query definition and whatnot, but I don't want to go into that detail. So it creates those hidden data sets behind the scene. Similar with the product parameters, so I don't want it to allow blank values, but I want multiple values and whatnot. So if we run this now,
and Parvinder, just while that runs, do you have a demonstration available at some point throughout the session where you can show the DAX calculation? So, for example, where you take an existing measure and you multiply it. So, for example, sales by 100.
Yeah, we can try to do that.
Perfect.
So here is now we have two parameters: select a customer. The prompt I changed, so it has only a single value. One of the things I want to point out here is it's not very user-friendly here in Power BI Report Builder. But if you publish a report in the cloud, or maybe actually I show that right now. while we're talking about, so I have this, let's say I pick any report here, probably customer statement 1, for example. So I have this published in Power BI service, developed in report builder. I think it has a parameter if I'm not wrong. So in here, in the parameter in the Power BI service, you have the opportunity to search. Let's say if I want to search for a name. So is it searching? Oh. Sure why, but let's see. Working, but actually, maybe this is a Power BI service. It's not in my my control. I'm not sure why this search is not working. But basically, in Power BI service, it has you have the opportunity to search for the parameter value if you have a long list. But when you're authoring the report here, you don't have the ability to search a value. So basically, you pick and choose. So for example, I have a single selection on this one. Say I say Aaron Adams, and what happens is now it will populate the product list. So it's a multiple, experience here in the report builder is not as friendly as it is in Power BI service. So now I want to see Aaron Adams. I just want to select the product what I want to sell. So now we have the parameters and select all, for example. So I run a report. So basically now this report is filtered for that particular customer and for all the products, whatever we have. Now again, we selected all the products. It only show up again because this we have as exactly the same behavior you see in Power BI desktop. So if I go back to desktop and try to create the similar experience here, let's say we put the dollar sales here as part of this, and we put customer as our slicer, for example. And if I pick Aaron Adams here, so we see only those 4 rows where even there is all the products has been listed, but it automatically filter as we know how the measures work and how Power BI data works. It's only giving us the sales of those products where the Aaron has made any sales. So this is 118, and that's exactly what we see here. Again, I can add the totals and all the stuff. So so that's how you can actually create the parameters and all the stuff. That leads to one question here, which one of my clients asked when I was working on Power BI Paginated Report. So sorry, going back to again to the report. The user says, you know what, I selected a customer, and now my product list. For example, I just want to recreate. I should have not closed it, but it takes a while. Let's say if I go and select an Aaron Adams, and we know Aaron Adams has only these 4 products what we sold to him. But when we go in a report builder and when we go in a product, it shows all the products. It doesn't. So now for the user, it is very, very hard to figure out like, okay, what product has been sold to, and should he select all, or should he hit and trial and what no, right? So how we make sure, that's what comes to the cascading parameters. So basically what we want to do is we want our product list to be limit number of products based on the customer selected, right? And that's called cascading parameters. So we pass the value from one parameter to the next parameter, and we eliminate the list here. So to achieve that, what we're going to do, we're going to go back to, we're going to add another query in our data set. So what we're going to do, it's called, let's say, product list, for example. Same, my data source is the same. So I go to Query Designer.
So within this part, just again while it just loads, so we have a question from Shrikant, and they ask, is there a way we can apply row level security like we do in Power BI Desktop?
Yeah, row level security will flow through. Once you publish it in the Power BI service, it will if the particular right, when you're developing, it means you're giving the permission on the data set. Of course, the user who's developing the report will have connected to the data set and will see everything. But once it is published, those row-level security, because the row-level security is on the Power BI data set, that will flow through and get to the paginated report as well.
Exactly. So I think it's clear to distinguish the two here, isn't it? So the way the Power BI report builder is working is a read-only function from the existing Power BI dataset. So anything that's developed within that Power BI dataset will flow through to report builder.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. So I created another list. What I'm doing here is I'm creating a simple query which is product and sales. Why I want the sales? If I don't do that, again, we have to make sure that this concept is really important to understand. Again, I'm going back to and emphasize on this enough right now because that's what is very important. So if I give it a product list here, it's giving me a list of all the products, right? And as soon as I enter a measure to it, and if we all know how Power BI works, and that's why I just want to make sure it is only giving me the list of the product which has any sales, right? So right now, as you can see, I can have only maybe 150 rows, products and whatnot. But if I have only another visual with the product, and what I have is like rows and all the products listed, there's no limit, right? So the way it works is we know if there's a measure and measure has a blank value, it's automatically gets filtered to keep it simple. So the similar thing I'm doing in a Power BI report builder. So I'm creating a query. I'm saying, okay, give me the product and the sales. So that what does it mean is it's eliminating any product which doesn't have any sales. But now we want this product to be only for the product. Now the product has, as we know, go back to Power BI Desktop, it has so many products which have sales. But Aaron Adams, in our example, the customer, has only 4 products. So we don't want it to be, even this list is much smaller. But we are interested only to see the list of the product which we have used for that particular selected customer. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add a parameter to this to our new query we are generating to list the product, and we're going to say, okay, customer coming from our customer dimension, and again create a parameter. So what happened at this point in time? Even we have created a parameter before. Now we're creating the parameter again from the same dimension. It's not going to create 2 parameters. It's going to link those together as in one parameter. So I'm going to show you that. So I use the dim customer. So again, it's going to generate this query for us. So pretty much what is summarized product and filter it on the selected customer. And this is what we are interested in. So I'm going to go OK. So now I have another a query here in my data sets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link I know my product list is showing only product which has sales, and it will be further listed on the customer I select. So to my parameter, which is dim product, I'm going to go there and go to the parameter properties. Under available values, currently it is using the hidden data set it created by itself. I'm going to change it to what I created. So I'm going to say, okay, hey, don't use that one, but use my product list, which I created. What value field I'm interested only to show the product, and the label field is also product. So basically what does that mean is now this particular parameter is going to use the value from the product list which I created, and I can control that list. Like I want to show only top 10 products, so I want to filter product which starts with name A, or whatever I want to do with that my list of products I want to show. So if I say OK now, I don't think you can hide. If there's a question can I hide this data set? No, you cannot. It's by default it's a hide. I couldn't find a way to hide maybe somewhere there's an option, but I didn't dig enough to hide, because this is just for the parameter. So let's run this. Now I'm going to go back to the same thing, and our experience is going to be a little bit different. So I again select an add and add-on. So now at this point of time, I expect it to show me only the product which add and add-on purchase. And as you can see, it's only showing us the 4 products rather than the whole list of things. So now for the end user, it's much easier to know to, if he's interested only to seeing these 2 sales of these 2 products, he can at least select those products rather than having the whole list and doing the guess game and all this stuff. So this is where the your cascading parameters comes in the picture. Again, if I have a single selection on the customer, if I have a multiple selection, so this product list will show me the product from all those selected customers. It's not like I have to be this has to be a single. So for example, if I go back and change it to allow multiple values and run it again.
And Paul, again, just while that runs, is this the only way to enable filtering within Report Builder, or can we add filters similarly to in Power BI Desktop?
No, this is the only way.
Okay.
For the parameters, yes. So because there's no the parameters kind of think about it is like, so right now you select the values and all the stuff, and you basically build everything. Every part of this is connected to a data set behind the scene, right? So that's how it works. So let's see, I've selected 3 customers here, and now my product list it will be all the products these 3 customers has purchased. So this has now gone from 4 products originally to the 6th product. So this is how you actually use the cascading parameters. And so basically you force it. So end of the day, what happens is when you create a parameter, it automatically creates a data set behind the scene, which is hidden. You can override that data set, create your own query, and then connect it to the parameters so that it only lists those products or those whatever the parameter you're using for. So it's only, you can restrict the list what you want to show there. A couple of things I want to show because I think we're going to run into time. One of the things which I found is really challenging. Maybe I already have a demo here and try to show you guys. Now, for example, in this particular data set, we have a customer, we have a product. Now we also want to select a date range say I want to see this customer, this product sale within X number of months or whatever the date range I want to do. So I'm going to open my existing query, which is dataset 1. I can go back to the query. I'll quickly walk through the problem and then what's the best way to solve it. And when I started working with this dates and all the stuff, I find it very annoying. Like it was not at all user friendly, and to overcome that, so I have to come up with a solution. So let's say we have our calendar. So I'm going to pick the date as my parameter. As you know, we want to put the date as my parameter. So as you see, now I have a customer parameter, product parameter. So, and then we have a third one. So here you have the operators, like multiple operators. Again, this is SSR kind of concept. Don't want to go too deep into this. This is range inclusive or exclusive. So I'm going to say inclusive, so start and end date. So once you do that, you have 2 check marks in here. So basically you select both. What it does is behind the scene, it creates 2 parameters, from date and to date for you. So I'm going to check mark these 2 and go OK. So it's going to take a while to rewrite the query.
That's okay, Pav. I think you're going to touch on some of this as well, but Sue asks, what are some of the best practice tips for working with dates?
Yeah, so working with dates is, of course, again, this all goes back down to your data models. You want to make sure that your data model is done. Like I've seen the models where there is the dates, and once this is correctly done and all the mayas has been done, one thing I want to emphasize here is your heavy lifting of your data modeling, your calculations, the mayas and all the stuff is done back in your Power BI data set. Power BI Report Builder is just another visualization or another way of representing your data. So, how you group and subtotal and whatnot, but everything goes back. So best practice is not on the report builder side, but it all goes back to your Power BI data set side, if that answers the question.
Fantastic. I believe it does.
So going back to what I want to show here quickly is, so let's select a customer again, add an item. So the report builder experience and Power BI service experience is a little bit different. So I keep on saying like it's not that friendly as it is in the Power BI service, but for the development point of view, sometimes it's a little bit cumbersome. So now again, we have a 4 parameters: select a customer, product, and then from date and to date, which got created. So look at the experience the user has here. Is like there is no calendar kind of thing. Like if I want to pick a February 15th, 2015 to some odd date range, so basically I have to scroll through everything and then select a date and then end it. This is really poor experience. You can't actually work with this. So to overcome that, what do you need to do is I'm not gonna spend time because we don't have much time here. I'm gonna open an existing report which I already created, I think. So what I did is I did not created the from and to parameters to how I showed that you put from the calendar date table and all the stuff. So I rather manually, you can actually add the parameters manually. And I added the parameters manually and given the type of that parameter to be date and time. So if you look here is, I created 2 parameters from calendar date and to calendar date. They are not linked with any available values. I created those parameters manually. And if we look into what happens is now we have this experience where we have this calendar. It's much more user friendly to go and scroll through and pick the date range and whatnot. So you create that this parameters manually, give the type to calendar, so it automatically change the behavior to show as in a calendar table. But what you need to do there is you need to go back to your query and you have to pass your own parameter to your Dax query. So this query is not by default. So again, I'm going to switch back to our existing report where we actually created the parameters to the designer. If you look at the query here, what it does is it created this query again. I don't know how big or small it is, but let me open in the notepad. So I'm going to show. So this is the query it created by default from those calendar table, all this whole thing it did. So what we did in our new query, we took we created our own date parameters, and then we wrote our own Dax code. And again, one way to do that, again, it's simply, if you don't know, like you don't know how to write that, simply go in your Power BI desktop. So what you're going to do here is, let's say I want my customer, just quickly run through this. I'm going to want my product, and I want my sales, right? These are the 3 things I'm looking for, and then I want my date. I will make it as a slicer quickly. So it shows me, so let's change it to something. So whatever this date range turns out to be. So now I know that this particular table is getting filtered on my date range. So I know the Dax code is, and we know how to get the Dax query behind the scene. I will go to my view, performance analyzer, start recording, refresh visual. So as you can see now, there's 2 visuals we have. So I go to table because I'm interested in what's happening in the table. So I go copy query. And if I go and open it in Notepad again, so it has a lot more stuff, but end of the day, it has like this whole thing. What I'm interested in, what it did is it created this query for me, and it's filtering it. Whatever the dates I have selected, it created this filter. So I take this whole thing into Power BI Report Builder and replace these date values with my parameters, which I did here. If you go back to my query here. So if you look at that, what I did is I said, okay, filter the same thing on my calendar date value. Instead of that fixed value, I pass my parameter value. So basically those parameters I manually created, I'm getting that because that gives us text value just to make sure why we're doing the date value. So from calendar date, it gives me those manual parameters I created, give me the text value. So the date value function in Dax convert the text value to the date value, just to make sure that we know. So if so convert a date in text format to a date and date time format, and that's what we're looking for. And so this is what it did. So I have my manual parameters, which allows me to create those calendar looking easy to pick rather than a long list. And then I tweaked my Dax query and came and created this. So it's pretty much, you can write your own Dax queries. So if you don't know, regenerate what you're looking for in Power BI Report Builder, reproduce that in your Power BI desktop, grab the query, and then further tweak it the way you wanted to tweak it, right? So that's the best way to do it. Rather than, if you don't know, I don't know all the Dax code and all the stuff, or even I know, I don't want to spend time in writing each and everything. I will just immediately go in Power BI desktop, create what I'm looking for, and get the query and further tweak it and come and paste it in here. So, and one thing, once you have manually added the query in the designer mode in Power BI Report Builder, you cannot go to the select. So it's like if I go query designer, if I have manually changed it, I can't go back to my my selection mode. If I go, so this one is like always show me in this one is not manually created, but I can, once I'm in a designer mode, I can't go back in there. So I think I lose all the changes and whatnot. Few more things I just want to, because we're running out of time here, and somebody asked about the publishing. Yes, I can publish now. This report has been created. I can publish it in my workspace. Again, if I don't have a premium backed workspace, I will not able to, let's say if this is my a workspace Canadian Stone, and I want to give it a name here, my paginated report, and save it. And it will say unable to save. The reason behind that is it's not a premium workspace, as you can see, Paginated Report premium workspace required. But if I go here into my premium back workspace, now here I can publish it and save it. There's a lot more to talk about this. I don't think there's enough time. I'm gonna switch quickly to my presentation. There's a lot more. Like I just wanna to quickly run down. You can actually. And we all know a Power BI paginated report visual is coming in Power BI, where you will be able to integrate Power BI reports, Power BI paginated reports within Power BI desktop itself, which will be great. Here is one example how I'm using, one of my clients is using Power BI reports, so paginated reports. So within this Power BI report, what I have is listed all the customers, and then let's say customer A is looking for statement of version 1, type 2, and 3. So what happens is I embedded this link, and it actually calls a Power BI report builder behind the scene. So I might show this functionality quickly, how you can achieve really a lot more with the report builder. So if I go back to my sales report here, so I have let's say I have a customer statement here. So I'm looking for a customer that I want to run the, so what I do is, like, let's say the user picked up this date range here, and then automatically pass this date range and this customer to my report builder. So I click this link. So as you will see, what it's going to do is it's going to open up a report builder automatically. So basically, through the Power BI desktop, you can actually call the Power BI report builder, pass those parameters and all the stuff, and make it rather. Sometimes I found the interaction through the Power BI report is much easier. Scrolling and all the stuff or through slices and whatnot, compared to going into this. So as you can see, this has passed the customer I selected and passed to my parameter report. And I can force it to not to show the preview, instead have it automatically export this as a PDF. And for example, I want to see the customer with only with the customer. Again, this is whatever the way you want to build is. These customers are looking for a statement of version 3 type, and if I click on this, and it opens up a Power BI report builder, which is version 3, might have a little different requirement, look and feel, and whatnot. So you can do a lot more with this. And one of the other example I want to show here is maybe I don't have it here. For example, one thing I have is like, okay, this is my selection, my main overview page. I have a date range. I selected a let's say a customer. Again, I'm going to go to that. So this is what it is. Now I want to export the data. So we know in Power BI, I think with the Power BI Paginated Report visual comes in Power BI will become much easier. So what I have is whatever the selection has been made here, I have created a export button, which is basically behind the scene calling a Paginated Report, passing these selections to Power BI Paginated Report parameters and exporting the data. So if I click this, what it's going to do is it's going to call the Paginated Report. It will not show the preview right now, but unfortunately, it still opens up a new tab. I guess with time it will improve. And what it is going to do is, I think I forced it to export it in Excel, and I can actually control this, the whole thing, what I want to do it. And once it runs through, and it will allow me to download the data, and then I can take. So basically through the Power BI desktop. So as you can see, it's exporting in an Excel. It does show the preview. So let it just quickly go to my download, and customer statement already been exported many times. So what I did is whatever I created in Power BI Paginated Report, we ran into this issue. I want to export metrics visual in Power BI and all the stuff. I can create that metrics visual the way I want it to be in Power BI Paginated Report, and then use that. And as you can see in this one, it has like all the, if I enable editing, plus and minus, and I want to show all the products, all the grouping has, I did this in the Paginated Report. So you can actually marry your this Power BI dashboard report with the Paginated Report and streamline this export process, which we always run into. Metrics visual doesn't export. Regenerate the whole thing in Paginated Report, and then with a very beautiful user experience. Now in this thing, user is interacting with all the steps. He's selecting these parameters, and then I'm passing those parameters to Paginated Report and giving me the look and feel the way I want. I can export in PDF and whatnot. So there's a lot more you can do, but I think I just want to show you guys some functionality, what my clients are actually using. It's not for the demo purposes, but I'm showing what actually my clients are actually using it, and it helps them. So they're living within one platform, and they are exporting the data. They are running different kind of customer statements, version 1, 2, 3 or whatnot. So all the solution is built within Power BI desktop, and then just Paginated Report is a way to visualize and export the data and whatnot.
That's absolutely fantastic, Parv. There was some amazing tips and tricks in there that I know that some of the users have commented in the comments that they're definitely going to be utilizing them moving forward. I do have a couple of questions which I'll pose to you if that's okay. So from Srikanth, they ask, can we do conditional formatting in the report, in the report output, like show profits in red if they are below 25%?
Yes, in Power BI, SSRS is very, as I said, it's also known as pixel perfect. You can really control every single thing. One thing I also want to point out here is if you are looking for anything on Paginated Report, because it's still a new product, let's say 3 years old or maybe 3.5 years old, it just become a GA maybe a year and a half ago. So search for SSRS. If you can't find anything, let's say you're trying to build something in Paginated Report and you don't know what to do and how to do it, search for SSRS, because SSRS is a 20 years old product, maybe more than that, I don't know. and you will find some solution in SSRS, which is pretty much will get implemented in Power BI Paginated Report as well. So yeah, conditional formatting. If you can't find help in Googling something, don't search like a conditional formatting in Paginated Report. Maybe you don't find it, but if you search conditional formatting in SQL Server reporting such as SSRS, you will find tons of topic, and pretty much that will work in here as well.
Yep, fantastic point there. Our next question is from Mark Lund, and he asks, when creating emailed subscriptions of the paginated reports from within Power BI, is it possible to burst to the report based on values? So for example, if I have customer 1, can I send them email 1, or can I have customer 2 and send them email 2, rather than set up 100 separate subscriptions?
I think what you're talking about, I'm not sure that is possible at this point of time. That is not possible if I'm not wrong, but I can circle back on that. I don't think that's possible, but I think this is a highly demand asked feature though.
No problem whatsoever. And we have a question from, I don't know the actual user, but they've asked, is it possible to change the date? So in the example that you showed us with the calendar, is it possible to change the date to working days?
That calendar control, what you saw in there, that's an inbuilt control. I don't think you can control what user can select or not. I don't think so, no.
No problem. And our final question is from Pragati, and she asks, can we have a second session with you, Parv, on paginated reporting?
Yeah, second, third, fourth.
There we go. We're going to have you back every fortnight by the sounds of it, I think.
No, it's a great tool. Again, if there's just a couple of things I want to wrap up as in the best practices, copy and paste Dax code from Power BI as I showed, like how easy, if you don't know Dax, don't worry about it. Go in Power BI and copy and paste the Dax code from there. One thing, 100%, whenever, even in the Power BI desktop, never ever with the measure put the table name, because measures are global to the model, right? We all know it's not like if I like a sum sales, it can be in a sales table or it can be in a dates table. That table does not matter where the measure is. Measure is global within the Power BI model. So when you copy the query from Power BI desktop to your report builder, and maybe I will show you here quickly, because I ran into this. I learned it in a very hard way, and I want to make sure that this is, I show you guys here. So let's look into one of the page 4 here, for example, and performance analyzer, start recording, refresh visual, table, copy query, and notepad here. And if we look here, look at the measure where it is. What it does, dollar sales is a measure. We all know it's a sum of sales. It is in a my measure table. So it puts this my measure table next to it. So as a best practices, measures are global. We should never ever use, even in Power BI desktop, never ever use the table name with the measure. So, but in performance analyzer, when it creates a query, it normally put the table name next to the measure name. So what I would do as a best practice, I will remove this when I'm pasting it in the report builder. The reason why I'm bringing that up is I had created this a table where all the measures were, and we built the Power BI report builder Paginated report based on the queries I copied and all the stuff. It brought the table name along with it, and then we went back to the Power BI, and we moved those measures around in different tables, and for XYZ reason. In Power BI desktop, it doesn't matter. If the measures move from my measure to another table, it doesn't break, it works. But my paginated report stopped working because they were expecting that measure in that specific table. And so what you want to do is you remove the measure, a table name next to the measures when you copy the file copy the Dax code from desktop. So it's a small thing, but very important. And always add a measure to your query, because that lists otherwise we saw in a very first example, a customer and product together, it's like a full list of things. It never works and all the stuff. And I've seen that many times. People ask, hey, I just want this thing and doesn't work. And there's a reason. And theoretically, you want to go back to your model and look into that. The customer and product doesn't have a direct relationship, and you can't filter those together. So that's kind of is really, really important. Let me see if there's anything else I want to. Yeah, I'll probably share the slide with you, Leon, and then you can share. There's some links I put, and anybody interested to learn RF Custom Dax Filter, I think there's a link so to which you can look, and there's a videos and URL parameters, how I call the Paginated Reports from the Power BI desktop, how you create those URL parameters and whatnot. There's a great article from documentation from Microsoft which you can follow. So that's it.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Parv. Absolutely super session there. I think that everybody's learned a lot today on Paginated Reports and how we can start to build them for Power BI now. So that's great. Thank you. And if you can share that slide, then I will obviously make sure that all of the users and everybody that attended this user group gets that. So thank you very much again for joining us. We do have last question from Bragati. Are there any resources for Report Builder that you would suggest?
In my slideshow here there's a really good series on Paginated Reports from Chris Finland. Of course, we know who he is. He's like a guy behind the Paginated Report from the Microsoft product team, and I think from Peter Myers as well. They both did a great YouTube videos from quite a bit. I looked into that from because I had the SSRS background, but I ran into the challenges when I started using Power BI dataset as a data source. But they have a great series of videos which you can learn from there, and there's a lot more available. Yes, there is.
Fantastic. So the key
and
to
I'm
that
always
is
there.
Oh, exactly. So everybody that's tuned in or rewatching us on YouTube, then please feel free to go into the comments where we have all of the links. You can catch Parv on LinkedIn and Twitter, etc., and obviously his website as well. So once again, Parv, thank you very much. And as the users have requested, we will definitely have you back with us in the future for a session. So thank you again. And to everybody that's attended this session, thank you very much for joining the Microsoft Power BI UK user group for this session with Parvinder on Paginated Reports. And you could have been anywhere in the world, but you've been here with us. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, any feedback is welcome, please. It helps me to see where I need to make change. So please take a moment and fill up the survey if you can. And it's just for my own knowledge, like where and what need to improve and how I can deliver my content. And never hesitate to reach out by email. Phone is fine too, and on LinkedIn, please reach out if you need any assistance, any help, or anything. Thank you.
Thank you all. And once again, this session has been brought to you in association with Onyx Data, our sponsors. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Leon. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.